Okay, we're back again. Enters a Strangers podcast. We have a guest in today, Cammie Hansen. And Cammie is, I would probably say, my quasi-sister-in-law for the last 10 years or so.
Quasi.
Yeah, so Cammie, we'll kind of tell you real quick. We kind of let each guest know that what we do is we sometimes just talk about whatever, but we have a particular story that we want you to tell, and what we're after is the story within the stories. So we're going to drill down into those to the primary story. But what we do first is we kind of give, or since I know you, I'll kind of give you my perspective, okay? And then you're going to tell us, the story. So we had you come in today because you've been a surrogate twice, right? For two different couples.
Right.
And you have two children of your own, two boys. And how old are your boys?
9 and 6.
9 and 6. Okay. So I remember, I obviously knew you before you were a surrogate.
Right.
Okay. And I remember, I'm sure it was your sister telling me that you were going to be a surrogate. And it was like, what?
Whoa.
What is that?
Why would you do that? Kind of thing. So, it was just kind of one of those things. And what we've come to find is that most of the times when we hear a story about somebody, 9 times out of 10 people don't ask the questions they want to ask of the person. They just kind of write the story in their own head, right? Which I'm sure you probably dealt with out the gate. So I guess what we'll start with is just the overall broad question is, when you first decided to become a surrogate, what was the primary motivation in that? Like, give us kind of where the idea came from and why you decided to do it.
It first started Eric's sister. So Eric is my husband,
Right?
not this Eric.
Not me. No.
Not this Eric.
His cousin was doing it, and I'd never heard of this. It was very interesting to me. I asked her a million questions about it, and this was before I even had Mac, before I was pregnant. So she is the one that turned me on to this, and I just thought it was the craziest thing. I've never heard of this, and it was so cool. And I was from then on, I was like, I have to look more into this. I feel like I need to do this. Like, it's a purpose of mine to do this. But I'm like, I have to have my own children first. I have to see how this goes, if I can even have children, how hard it's going to be.
So this goes way back then, before you had kids. Okay, that you had an interest in it.
Right.
Okay, so your interest at that time was just in the pure generosity of giving birth to a family who couldn't have a kid.
Right.
Right.
So she told me her story, and these people were from back east, and they're with an agency that found her, and she lives in Utah. And they weren't able to have children, and she kind of told me their story, and she ended up getting pregnant with twins for them. So I talked to her through the whole process, and did the whole thing. And meantime, I believe I was pregnant with Mac.
Right.
We'd gotten married and we're pregnant with Mac. So I kept in touch with her, and even like after she had them, she kind of followed up with her experience, stuff like that. Okay. So yeah, it was all about giving the parents a child. Yes.
Okay, so I'm just gonna ask the question: when you first learned about it from her, did she tell you how much she made from being a surrogate?
I don't remember.
You don't remember if she told you?
I don't think so.
So money, the dollar sign did it. Obviously, it wasn't the reason or the only reason.
No, it's not the main reason, nor it's.
But it's a nice little perk, of the
some
situation.
Surrogates don't even get paid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What?
Why is that? Why would they get paid for that kind of thing?
Some of them do it for family members or for friends, or just whatever reason. They just want to do it just to do it.
Right. So, okay. For people that don't know, because it sounded like in the beginning, when you first heard about this, you'd never heard about this before. So there's probably a lot of people that don't really know too much about it. And just to be clear, it is and we'll get to your specific scenarios in a minute, but it is a mother's egg and the father's sperm, and you're just basically for rent, right?
Well, it depends.
No,
That sounds pretty cheap.
Well, right.
That sounds pretty cheep.
Well,
Here, rent my space.
There's different kinds of surrogates.
sure, I know, but for
Okay.
you,
For me, yes.
for you, the first one. So let's just refer to the first one because the second one was a little bit different situation, but it was just man and woman, egg and sperm, right?
Her egg.
Right.
Donor egg.
A donor egg.
His
Right.
Right.
Okay. So I'm assuming that another
So
situation
not
is
my egg.
you would provide the egg is another
That's
route
a
to go.
traditional.
That's the
surrogate.
traditional way to go.
No, that's a traditional surrogate.
Okay, that's a traditional surrogate.
I'm a gestational surrogate.
a gestational surrogate.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's fancy names for
Learned something new today.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. When you decided to do this, okay. So you had, when did you already, before you had your kids, did you decide you already were like, I'm going to do this one day?
Yeah, I really wanted to.
You really wanted to do
But
it.
of course, you don't know how your pregnancies are going to go
Right.
and if it's going to be something that you can do.
So I assume, just based off previous conversations, that you can just pop them out. And
My sister tell you that?
yeah. So no, what I guess your experience is you had fairly easy pregnancies, and so you decided
Yes.
that it was something that you could do.
That I could do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you have to get like registered with a registry or a agency of some sort to be
There's-
qualified?
There's different ways that you can do it. So you can go independent, which I did. So that was by myself through lawyers, or you can go agency and they match you up with someone.
And if you're
So-
independent, you just kind of do, for lack of a better
Yeah.
term, marketing.
Yeah, like you go to a lawyer. Is a surrogacy lawyer? Is that how it works?
So there's reproductive lawyers.
Okay.
There's one here in Utah that I went through. There's a couple.
Right.
But I went through the U. I was interested in it, and I kind of wanted to stay here in Utah with my first one.
Right.
To be local, like close to the.
So the
parents.
first parents were
Utah.
local. Okay.
So I called the U and I asked how you get into this. Like, how do you do it here locally? And they referred me to the lawyer in Salt Lake.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so you decide to do it. But you decide before you have kids to do it. Where was Eric in all this?
He was totally supportive. I mean, he.
Is that a question? Are you asking me?
yeah. It's kind of what it sounds like.
Do you know? No. He was supportive. I mean, his cousin did it, so he got the gist of it. And he just, if this is something you want to do, you should do it. But also, we need to think about the family and how things are going to affect us. And we made sure to get a lot of life insurance in case anything happened.
Right.
Because there's always that factor and that risk in it too. But he was totally behind me on it.
Did you decide before meeting with the lawyer that you were just going to be a gestational surrogate?
Yeah. I don't think, for me, and everyone's different, I don't think I could use my own egg. I feel like that would,
From a
That's-
personal decision, you
right.
didn't want to.
yeah, I didn't want to do
Right.
that
You
because
didn't
it would be
wanna do
like
that.
giving my
Right.
child away.
Okay.
No. I couldn't do that.
So that was already decided ahead
Right.
of time.
Yeah.
Okay. So you talk to the lawyer. He gets you all set up, and
He created a profile for me. And then he has profile for intended parents is what they call them.
and they like this
IPs.
is like an online profile.
No.
Can people go online and look for like different profiles, or is it
I
something?
imagine they got to get a hold of a lawyer probably who has.
Yeah, so the lawyer gathers my profile and the parents' profile, and then he's the one that looks side by side, and if our expectations match up, then he introduces.
So it's
us.
it sounds like, because it's obviously, giving life to a being, that it's very, so the lawyer is responsible for kind of aligning the two things. In your situation, and maybe you can tell if it's different in other, like through agencies, the parents don't get a flip through a catalog. I know that sounds really lame, but they don't get to flip through a catalog and go, this one looks good, and look at, stats and medical history and all that stuff. I'm sure family medical history plays a role, right?
Yeah.
Does it? So it does even for a gestational surrogate.
Yes, it is.
Okay. So do you have to get like a screening and testing and all kinds of blood work done and stuff before you're able to be a surrogate?
Yeah. So you have to have history of a pregnancy, at least one. And then they look out how the pregnancy went, if everything was healthy, if you're healthy, if you meet certain, like your BMI is healthy, you know, there's all these different health things that you have to check off before you can. So your OB and has to give you the okay too, to get pregnant again. She has to say yes, or he has to say yes.
Okay.
She can get pregnant again.
Do you have to, is there a stage at which, I'm assuming the parents can say, no, we're not interested at any point.
Right. And back to the catalog.
Right.
So I guess they could look through everyone that he had available,
Right.
and they could, you know, kind of wean them out. But I think he goes through more of what they're looking for, and then just kind of matches them as they come.
Right.
So you don't like sit down in an interview with the parents and...
After he matches us up, well, so he contacted me after he had my profile, and he said, there's a couple that liked your profile. They want to meet you. Can I send you their profile? Yeah. So you look at their profile. If you're okay with all of that and you think that you like the couple or you feel good about it, then he sets up a meeting.
Gotcha.
Okay. So he sets up the meeting for you. First meeting that you had.
Yeah.
Right. There wasn't any before that said, we don't want this one.
Oh, no. The process is crazy. Like I went through 2 agencies before I did my first independent.
Well, you got to tell us stuff.
Yeah, it's a big chunk of
never
the story.
asked.
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So between Mac and Gavin, let's back up. I was like, maybe I should do a surrogacy between the 2. So I signed up with the agency that Eric's cousin went through in New Jersey, and they didn't have anyone for me. They didn't have anyone that matched up with mine. There was a lot of parents that wanted to stay local, and I was clear across the country. So they didn't have anyone for a long, long time. Okay. So then it was kind of like at a standstill, just a hold. And I was still kind of deciding if I wanted to get pregnant again with my own. And then right when I decided, like the same week I decided that I was going to get pregnant with Gavin,
Right.
they called me.
Of course.
The agency.
Of course.
The agency called me.
Right.
We have someone that wants to meet with you. They're interested. They don't care. The other thing is the insurance.
Right.
I had a hard time because my insurance didn't cover it. So that means the parents have to buy extra insurance for you. They said, we have someone that is interested. She doesn't care that you don't have insurance. She will purchase it for you. And I had to tell him, well, I'm going to have another one. I can't remember if it was the week I decided or the week I got pregnant.
Right.
But I was like, I can't. Like, you're going to have to put my profile on hold. So then I went through Gavin's. And then right after I had Gavin, I called them back and asked them to put my profile back on.
How long after?
A few months, maybe.
A few months.
Okay.
Yeah, no
This
kidding.
process takes a long time,
Okay.
which I'll fill you in on.
Okay.
Yeah, it was a few months. So I was like, I might as well get it started. And then I actually signed up with another one in California, which you're kind of not supposed to do. They had
Two at the same time?
2 agencies, yeah.
You heard it here first. So let me stop you real fast because I swear I just heard something on a podcast about the California changed surrogacy laws there. Do you know anything about that?
Is it a recent?
Something very recent where they've made it, I don't know that they've made it very difficult to be a surrogate in California.
It's huge in California.
That might be why. I don't know for sure. I just wondering if you know. I remember hearing something. You know, I just assume you go to like post surrogate, networking meetings and things like that. Just kidding. No. Sorry. So go ahead. So you were signed up with 2 different agencies.
Right.
One on the East Coast, one on the West Coast.
Right.
Okay.
So the California one, they had a lot of parents that were okay with out of town. So I talked to one of them, but ended up not feeling very good about it because they didn't speak English and it was really hard to communicate.
Right.
So I had to do the phone interview with them, and there was a translator, and it was rough. So I ended up not doing that one. I didn't feel good about it.
Yeah, that seems like a huge deal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So then I was like, I really thought about it. I need to do it local. I feel like my first time, I need to have the really good experience
Right.
and do it with someone close. And so they can have the same experience
Right.
and they can go through the pregnancy with me. So that's when I called the U and they hooked me up with
Okay.
the lawyer. So that was independent. So, and that's just through the lawyers. So they have a lawyer. I have a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You get lined up with or matched, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
They send, your lawyer calls you, says, we have someone, can we send you their profile? Right?
Their lawyer. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So like what I'm interested in, if you can remember, is because I'm not, I can't give birth. So, it's obviously different, but I've tried to, not yet anyway, maybe soon.
Maybe.
I've tried to put myself in kind of the mindset of like, your husband and then also the woman, which obviously is very difficult to do, but, and I can't, it's a very strange process to me. So without having the whole, this is a purpose, this is a reason I'm here, I can do this and all that, all that feel good stuff. It seems like there's a part of it to me that I find I don't want to say, oh, this is going to come out wrong. It's kind of funny in a way. There's like, the idea that it's like a dating service almost.
It all seems very awkward.
It's very
The
awkward.
The whole
science of
process
it
seems
is funny.
awkward.
It is kind of awkward.
That's what I'm saying, right? So
Yeah.
so you get their profile, which I assume is a paper profile.
Yeah. It was pretty much like a fax scanned that I got on my email.
So you're flipping through this thing, and does it have pictures of the parents?
No,
Okay.
it didn't. But I asked for one
Right.
after I was
Why'd
like,
you
yes,
ask?
I want to meet them.
Why'd you ask for pictures?
Mostly so I could recognize them when I met them. But I was just curious.
Okay.
And they asked for mine.
See, I'm
So
telling you, this is
I asked
stuff.
for theirs.
This is stuff that I'm telling you, people don't know, and that's a question I have because
Right.
I don't know why.
Some
I feel
people
like,
don't even know what a surrogate is.
Well, I feel like I'd want to see what the people look like.
Mm-hmm.
Because how else am I going to judge them on appearance? I'm just a joke, of course, but so it's just information. Gives their
It's
ages,
more information, right? Mhm.
right, and stuff like that. Do things have to line up like? This is going to sound so ignorant, but like blood type, and does any of that stuff matter?
No, that stuff doesn't matter.
None of that stuff matters.
No, that doesn't matter. Most of what they match up is, if I can remember right, like your opinion or view on like termination
Okay.
or things that you eat. Like, so it sounds dumb, but like organic foods. Like, are you willing to eat organic foods, or are they willing? Just things that you're willing to do during the pregnancy.
So it's a negotiation on some level.
Everything's a negotiation in the contract.
So do they?
But the profile is like, are you willing to terminate if this happens, or are you willing to transfer 2 eggs versus 1 or 3?
What does that mean? Transfer eggs?
Embryos. Sorry, the embryos. So the egg and the sperm.
Right. So if it doesn't work, is that what you mean? Are you willing to
Like put 2 or 3 eggs in, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which means multiple births,
Multiple children, possibly.
Right.
Like carrying twins,
Right.
carrying triplets.
Oh, jeez. So they can just do that. They can go, we're going to give you twins.
That was my second one.
Because you had twins?
I was pregnant with twins and lost one.
Oh, I didn't know that.
You're skipping way more.
Yes. Easy. Slow down. That's the big stuff.
Okay, so they're called embryos.
Right.
Which is they grow it in
Yeah,
they
I know
grow
what
it in a
embryos.
little dish for a
Right.
few days and then they freeze it.
Yeah.
And then they grade those embryos on the growth and how
Right.
fast they grow and how healthy they are, and they all have their scientific
Right.
grades on them. So they transferred. So the first one, I hope I'm not skipping ahead. They transferred. First one was her egg, biologically,
Mm-hmm.
and his sperm,
Okay.
and it was her last one,
Her last. ever.
embryo, because she had tried multiple times to do IVF
Right.
and it failed. So it was her very last one that she tried with me.
And it worked.
It didn't take.
It didn't take.
No.
This is
the first one.
This is the first couple that didn't.
Bummer.
This is the one that didn't work out.
No, it did.
Okay, you're confused.
It did, just not with her egg.
Not with her egg.
Not with her egg.
Oh, donor
So then
egg.
I did
Right.
IVF again, and she got a donor egg,
Right.
and then they froze it, and then they implanted it once I was going through the IVF. My IVF was done. They implanted it. That one took.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. Same couple.
See, the only way to really do this inevitably is to have someone in here who's been on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With who's had a surrogate, that way. So you're going through all this information. Can they? How detailed can they? I know you can obviously refuse to give them certain information, and then obviously they can be like, "Well, we're not comfortable," and then it's done. But like in your experience or in others' experiences, do you know how varied can they get in their questioning? Can they ask you a question of like what your political views on certain things are?
Yeah, they can do anything.
So did you get any crazy questions like that?
No.
The first time?
It was all pretty basic. It was a normal profile like it's on the agencies.
Right.
And then even throughout the pregnancy, they were pretty chill.
Right.
And just easygoing, and the whole eating organic, they weren't super uptight about anything. They wanted to make sure I was being healthy and the baby was healthy. But other than that, they didn't care.
At any point, okay, so they didn't care, but at any point were you kind of like, what am I getting myself into here? Like, because there's got to be cases out there where people get into a contract, for this, and then the future parents are like, you're not doing X, you're not doing Y, and I would imagine,
sure.
and that's probably why you have to have lawyers and very
lawyers
black
and contract and
thing.
right, yeah, everything. There's so much in the contract that it's like.
Yeah, like if you agree to eat organic and, obviously not smoke, not drink, blah, 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 and you do any number of those things, can they just go, whoop, terminate, breach of contract, we don't want the child now? Like, I mean, I know that sounds pretty ignorant, but.
I mean, I guess, I don't know. Like,
then what?
Once you're pregnant with their child and then they tell you that they don't want it, I don't think that they would really do that.
Well, I hope not. I hope not.
I mean, I hope not. I never got into anything crazy like that, but you never know what's going to happen.
About anything like that?
Like after the contracts were signed?
Yeah, I mean, because here's the thing that I'm thinking. I mean, maybe you did enough research ahead of time, but I'm thinking as you're going through this, and it's like any legal document that is way over explained. It's too much legalese and all this stuff. At any point where you're like, oh man, like this potentially could get ugly.
It could. And the contract's scary.
Right. Were you ever scared?
No, it was just a lot of information, and I had really good lawyers that explained everything, and I told them exactly what I wanted, and that's what they wrote in the contract.
Okay.
So I feel like.
So the expectations were managed ahead of time.
Right. With my surrogacy, I don't know about others, but it was pretty straightforward, and it was pretty easy. But I can't speak for everyone else's. Nothing crazy happened after I signed contracts and everything was said and done. Nothing crazy happened.
Did your thought process as you moved through this or before you started this ever go, I'm going to carry a baby for 9 months and I'm worried about how I'm going to emotionally deal with this?
Totally.
Because, I mean, it's not a normal...
Like a postpartum depression, is that
or just the fact that
play?
you carry a baby that you're just like, here you go. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's everyone's question. Like, how did you carry a child for 9 months and then not have an attachment? And I'm like, Mom, I must be crazy, or I don't have that motherly attachment. I don't know. Well, I really thought about it beforehand and prepped my brain and my emotions, and you're doing this for a reason, to give someone else this gift. And through the entire thing, I had to remember it's not yours.
Right.
So, and it wasn't biologically mine, so that helped.
Probably would have made a huge difference.
Right.
Big difference.
Yeah, that helped. It's not mine, it's theirs. I'm just the oven. I guess Utah calls me a vehicle.
Oh, you're a vehicle.
I know.
Sweet.
So nice.
So not a home you're
I
renting, it's a
wonder-
car you're renting.
You're renting a car.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder who made that. If it was
A
a
sedan,
man
a
or
sports
a
car.
woman.
Uh-oh.
Who made that law?
So you never were worried about that. You were never worried about.
I did work, like it was always in the back of your head.
Right.
It'd have to be.
Like,
It'd have
right.
to be.
So my first one, I was like, afterwards I was ready for it. I was like, is it coming?
Right.
Here it is. All the emotions that you have and the hormones and everything go through afterwards. I was just waiting for it and
Right.
it never came.
So it never came. So
No,
it was
and
never
I
anything
don't
you had to deal with.
normally have postpartum anyway with any of my other ones. So I wasn't afraid of that happening,
Right.
but I didn't have that attachment.
Okay.
I didn't have any of that.
Okay. So
I was
you're
lucky.
going through the process. Everything's going forward. Do you know the price? Is the price
Yes.
negotiated?
The price is in the contract.
So is that a negotiable
Yes. Mm-hmm.
thing? Okay.
Yes.
And I imagine outside of just the dollar amount, there's things like you said, insurance, hospital bills, things like that
Right.
go along with any normal pregnancy, the cost of anything. So let's say in your first situation, let's say, and I'm sure the contract covered this, if you were to have had something happen to you while you were pregnant, let's say you slipped and you broke your ankle or something like that. Does it cover stuff like that? Like, is that kind of thing in the contract? Like,
No.
the idea that I don't know, while you're carrying someone else's baby, right? If the baby somehow does damage to you, right? There's complications that extend beyond now what a pregnancy is, or post delivering the baby. You deliver the baby and there's complications.
Right.
Are the parents on the hook potentially for any kind of medical needs that may come from the fact of
If it
carrying
was
their baby?
from the pregnancy, yes, and everything is in the contract.
Everything.
So afterwards, if you end up needing a hysterectomy because of complications it's in the contract. You get paid extra for that if you decide to do that.
Right.
So there's like there's a price on everything. Hysterectomy, there's anything that could happen with a pregnancy. There's a price on it. C-section is more, multiple births are more.
Right.
I'm trying to remember what else is in there.
It sounds like just about everything's in there.
Everything's in it.
Right.
Anything that could happen except like accident. That's mainly covered by your insurance.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So they get everything fertilized. You go in. It's all done here. Did you do it at the university hospital?
Yeah. The first one,
So they throw that.
They throw it in.
They throw that thing in there. I'm not trying to sound insensitive. They
Go deep.
delicately place.
So it's a big deal. You
Sure.
go through a few months before, I think 3 months of IVF before injections every day. Horrible hormones. That was the worst part of
Right.
it. If you're wondering what the worst part of it is, it's the hormone injections
Right.
and feeling a little crazy.
Right.
And then you get tested a few days before you transfer. That's what throwing in is.
That's the transfer.
Transfer. Yes.
See, I just need to learn the
That's the word.
terminology.
Exactly.
Okay.
They check your cervix and everything to make sure that it's nice and cushy and
Right.
sticky, is what they call it.
Before the transfer.
Before the transfer.
Okay.
So you have to have enough thickness, stickiness, that's what they call it,
So
to transfer.
let's stop there for a second. So, two things. You've either got to be, and I just mean this very plainly. You've either got to be really dedicated to this process, because that's a lot of. I don't like going down to the store to get mayonnaise, right? You know, because it takes too much time.
It's a
It's
lot of
inconvenience.
work.
So it's a lot of work. So you've either got to be really committed to this process of helping out a family, or or you just really want to make that money too. Because I get that the primary reason why most people are surrogates, but I guarantee you there's got to be people out there
no doubt.
that are surrogates just for
Yeah.
Totally.
just to make the money.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can't. What's funny is that, I mean, it's not funny, but in over the years in passing, people that I've mentioned that you were a surrogate to, people that don't know you, obviously, you know, like I've heard comments like, oh, that's a good way to make some money. Like I know that's the first thing people's head goes to is
It really is.
The money.
How much money did you make?
Right.
That's one of the first questions you get.
How much money did you make?
How much money did you make? Enough? You don't want to say?
No, I feel like it was worth all the effort and hard work put into it.
The money was worth all the hard work and effort.
Like it was made.
And is this paid out in one? Is this paid out in one lump sum?
No,
or
it's like monthly. Yeah.
Monthly.
Yes, they split it into monthly.
So it's less than $100,000.
Well, yes.
Right?
Yes.
All right. And it's more than 10.
Okay, I'm just gonna tell you. My first one was 25. Okay.
25.
Yeah.
Right. And monthly.
Yeah, split into monthly.
We'll get to this in a minute, but just since we're on the topic, second one higher or lower, and you don't have to say
higher because I was experienced.
Oh, you're experienced now.
It's like a job. I mean, once you get 2 years experience,
Right.
you're worth
It's
more
like a
money.
job. Right. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. That's interesting. All right. So the price goes up because you're experienced. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the transfer done. They make sure you're sticky and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
And that you're good to go. I would imagine so at this stage, before the transfer, how well did you get to know the parents?
Pretty well. So throughout the whole process, contracts took a long time. So lawyers took a long time. It has to go through the courts. There's so much that goes into the court process and getting that done. And then you do the IVF, which takes months and months, and then the transfer, and then you have to wait, I don't know, like a week and a half to be tested to see if it took. And then another 2 to 3 months of IVF still, the shots and the hormones. So I went through that, and then it didn't take. So we had to stop the IVF and then start again like a month later. And then I had to go another 3 months and then transfer again.
So this ain't a 9-month pregnancy. This is a 2-year pregnancy.
So the second transfer was with was a donated
donor egg.
A donor egg. Okay. So
they had to go through that process as well.
Right.
They had to find a donor and then freeze the embryo while I was doing IVF.
So if you want to have a child through a surrogate, then you better be somewhat well financed, because it's going to cost you a shit ton of money.
It's very expensive.
Okay. So while this is all going on, you're dealing with two parents, and I'm assuming a woman who can't give birth and has dealt with that and is probably super emotional when it didn't take the first time.
Very. It was rough for both of us.
Okay, it was rough for both of you, but was it rough for you in the aspect of interacting with her through this?
The first couple times seeing her after, it was hard, because I felt like I failed, and she like lost a child basically. Her last chance for a biological child. So that was rough, but I mean she did pretty well after she got through it. And
I mean, did the two of you sit down and talk about it ever?
No,
you didn't. You weren't that close to them to go through that. So you both kind of went through it on your own. Did you ever feel like you wanted to talk to her about it?
I kind of did, but it was hard, and I didn't know really how she would react to it.
Right.
Because I feel like, I mean, you go through IVF that many times and you just can't do it. That's hard.
Right.
So I didn't know like how much you could, say and dig and.
Right. You are going through this and you are getting paid monthly for it. Does the dollar amount you're getting paid monthly, you're getting paid that, and then on top of that, all the other expenses are taken care of in relation to the pregnancy?
They pay, yes, for medical, everything.
Which you don't have anything to do with or see anything about, right? So it's just
the bills come to me, they pay them.
And you just give them the bills.
Right.
What a sweet deal.
Yeah, no
I think we
doubt.
do that with other things too.
Right.
You could be like, oh, here's my electric bill.
No,
You know, that'd be awesome.
not exactly.
Right.
Just medical bills.
Sure, all medical bills
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, they pay for.
How long ago was the first one?
I gave birth in 2015.
And do you ever have much follow-up
Wait.
contact with parents?
Sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead, answer his question.
Yes, I do.
2015 was the first one?
First one. So I had Gavin 2012. So it took me a good 3 years to do the whole process.
Right.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the distance was shorter between the first and
first
the
and
second.
second.
Because you're experienced.
Right.
Right. So it took a while to get this all through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Were at any point were you like, I'm not going to do this again. This is too hard.
No. I knew as soon as I did the first one, I was going to do the second one.
Yeah, but before like the failure of the first transfer and all that,
No,
did you
I
ever
still knew
question
that
it?
I needed to do it.
Right.
There was no question.
And why did you need to do it?
Because I needed to do it. It's my purpose.
It's your purpose.
Yes.
Are you done?
I'm done.
You're done having babies?
Yeah, done.
Okay, so let's take it a little bit different direction. And maybe you don't know, depending on your relationship with him or whatnot, but this is what I'm thinking about, right? Okay, so the person I'm with wants to be a surrogate. Great, I support that. There's got to be questions in his mind, like, of course, you've been through 2 pregnancies and stuff, but like, you know, I don't care how smooth your pregnancy was. I'm sure there were times Eric wanted to pull his hair out through the first 2 pregnancies of.
Are you
right?
kidding? You were there for that, right?
I mean, sort of. I try not to pay attention to other people, but
Yeah, he straight up told me the second time, we're not doing this again.
when you had,
The second surrogacy.
oh, he told you that.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
during
saying.
my-
So during the first one, I mean, it's not just you going through stuff;
No,
it's him
no,
too,
no.
because he's got to put up with your crap,
During the first one, we didn't really know what to expect
right?
and what the hormones and stuff were going to do. So he was just kind of along for the ride and just trying to support me because I
Right.
asked for the support, and everything was just new and we didn't know what to expect. The
Right,
second one was a different story.
because you knew what to expect.
We knew what was going on.
How was it a different story?
And
Because he
I
moved
was-
out for 6 months of the
I
year.
was a little bit older and it was rough. Like the second one was a little more rough, and the
Right.
hormones, I could feel myself going crazy.
Really,
And I agreed with him. We're not doing this again.
just too much.
It was too much. Yeah.
Okay, so when you had the first surrogacy baby, how old when that baby was born? How old was Gavin? I mean Mac.
Mac was, let's see, 6.
So did he understand what was going on?
He did a little bit.
Did he think that was going to be a baby brother or sister?
No,
He never did.
we talked about it. I prepped him from the beginning.
You're just like, this is not
He did really well with that.
right. But so if he was 6, Gavin was about 3,
No, 2.
2. So he's too young to
Right. He didn't know any.
yeah.
But Mac, the parents were really good with my kids. The first IPs, really good with my kids, and he knew them. He went through the whole process with them, and he would say, "This is so and so's baby. You're having this baby for so and so."
Right.
Yes, yes. And then he was there for the birth and got to see the parents with
Right.
the baby. So, and I needed that for him. I needed him to see that, and that they were going to, or the baby was going to good parents, and he did really well with it.
Okay, any complications in the first one? Aside from the failure of the first transfer, so let's say you're hitting your first trimester, second trimester. Were there any issues?
No. Mm-mm.
So smooth sailing.
Yeah, pretty normal.
And during this time frame, are the parents making an effort to interact and engage with you? I'm sure as the closer you get, they want to be more
Totally.
involved in. So I'm assuming you guys, will go out to dinner, or
Yeah.
they have you come over, especially because they're local, stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Did it seem like they wanted to make a concerted effort to, 1, make you feel comfortable, and 2, to make you, not make you, but to have you like them as people?
Yeah, I think that was a concern.
And you felt like they did that?
Yeah, I mean they took us to dinner all the time, lunch, they are very busy people.
Right.
They're both doctors, so their schedules were crazy. But they made the best
They
effort
were both
they
doctors?
could. Yeah.
Oh.
They made the best effort that they could to spend time with me and my family and get to know us. And I mean, they did everything.
That's
they could,
awesome.
Yeah.
So you're going to labor, and
No.
you didn't go into labor.
I was
You were
induced.
induced.
Yeah.
And did you have it vaginally?
Yes.
Was it a boy or girl?
Boy.
And obviously they knew that at some point that it was going to be a
Yeah,
boy.
they knew from the beginning. They can test the
So
embryo.
Okay. And did they select it to be a boy, or did they just test the embryo and
They
see?
just know from the embryo. Yeah.
Okay. So you go in, or they induce you into labor, and who's all in the room? Oh, whoa. Sorry. Before you answer that question, now I'm sure there's this, your first process. I mean, it was all smooth sailing. So, it sounds fairly boring. Even though you went through a lot of stuff, I'm looking for the juicy details of things here, but like, I want to know, like, legitimately, like, let's take your mom, for example, did you, or your parents, for example, or whoever, did they know beforehand? Had you talked before you ever even did this, that this is something you were going to do someday?
Yeah.
Was it something that was just kind of dismissed, or did people take you seriously?
No, I made them take me seriously because it was something I wanted
Because
to
I
do.
never heard anyone say anything about either at the time, or I never heard anyone say, oh, she always wanted to do this or anything. Right?
No, it wasn't like I put it out there all the time.
Okay.
It wasn't like a huge, like,
Right.
this is what I'm doing. This is what. No, I kept it kind of quiet just because you don't know how people are going to feel about it.
So how did family react to the news that you were going to do this?
Everyone was pretty supportive. I mean, they had a million questions, of course, right?
Nobody
Both
said,
my
what are you doing?
my mother-in-law and my mother
Right.
were like, no, keep having babies for us. Have babies of your own for us. And I'm
Right.
like, no, I'm done having babies
Right.
for myself and for
Right.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the only kickback I felt like got
Okay.
from the moms.
So for the most part, family and friends were all pretty supportive.
Yeah, and if they weren't, I didn't really care.
You didn't really care, or you didn't know.
Or I didn't know, or they didn't voice their opinion about it.
Right.
Right.
So you didn't run into any kind of friction that way or anything like that.
No, it wasn't really their choice, not their body.
No, I gotcha. I gotcha.
Right.
Because it's, I'm sure that for some people that's probably something they take into consideration at times is because I mean, which speaks to your character and how you view things, because a lot of people will not do things because they don't want to deal with the backlash from the people closest to them.
Right.
So okay, so you have the baby. It's all pretty cut and dry as far as there's no complications. It's a baby boy, you said, right? And then what? So you have the baby. The baby is immediately, however long you're there, a couple days before a baby goes home, typically. So just goes home with mom and dad. And how much interaction do you have with the parents after the fact?
First parents, not a ton. Pictures every once in a while, texts, and just like, this is, he got his first tooth, or this is have his first birthday, just he's crawling, things like that, like mild milestones, right?
Yeah. You're not asking for this stuff though.
No, and you can totally put that in the contract too.
Right.
Like what exactly you want.
Really?
Everything's
Like, don't talk to me after the fact.
That's crazy.
Everything. Yeah, if they don't want to have any contact, they put it in the contract.
Right.
But ours was, pictures every birthday, milestones, just whatever you feel like doing, send.
It seems like I would assume it's such a huge disconnect, because I've known people that have given up kids for adoption, their children for adoption, and still somewhat, and I've, some crazy stories where they stay extremely close, where it's like, oh, that's Aunt Karen, when really that's Mom Karen.
Right.
But it seems like there's would be a huge distinction between being a traditional surrogate or a gestational surrogate? As far as how, I don't know, maybe I'm crazy, how not involved, but how interested you would be in that child's life after the fact.
If it was mine, I'd be really interested.
Right. Is that how that's what you feel, is that if that was your embryo, your contract might have been stipulated a little bit more stuff.
Right.
Even though you'd have no legal rights whatsoever on any way, shape, or form for that.
Yeah, if it was in the contract.
Unless you put it in the contract.
Right.
Everything's. You can work out anything.
Have you ever heard of any instances, or was this ever discussed, where I assume they'd have to be pretty extraneous circumstances, but if you were a traditional surrogate and the parents both had died in a car accident and there was no other family, I wonder what kind of...
It's in the contract.
It's all in the contract?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. It's all about that contract.
So if they die, they have a family member it goes to.
Right.
Or they can give it to you. Or if you don't want to.
Right.
It's all in the contract.
Wow.
Everything.
That's crazy.
Jeez. Yeah. Okay, so you have the baby, they give you updated, and...
I think you're skipping like a huge part of the process.
What's the process?
Having the baby.
Having the baby.
That's the best part of the
It's the
whole
best
thing.
part?
So you're just like, I'm having the baby. And
Well, okay, so
that's the magical day.
That's the magical day.
That's the whole reason for doing the whole thing.
It seems to me that that's the easiest part of the whole thing. Not from the standpoint of having a baby.
For a man.
Whoa.
Back up.
Walked into that one.
Yeah, not what I meant. I just mean all the stuff that you go through, all the hormones,
Right.
all of that stuff, and the day's finally here,
That's
and you're
the
done.
best day, and you're skipping right through it.
What's the best part about that day?
Seeing the baby, seeing the mother and father holding the baby.
Was that the greatest experience or moment through the whole experience?
Right. That's what I waited for the entire time. And I can't speak for everyone. That's
Right.
what I waited for the entire time, is to watch it. And it's hard because you've just given birth.
Right.
And you're trying to look across the room at these parents holding the baby. But that's the whole reason I did it, was to
It's
see.
for that moment.
I mean, imagine you've both had kids.
Yeah.
And you've been there
Uh-huh.
in the delivery room.
Yep.
Yeah. When you look down at your newborn,
Right.
you get to watch the parents do that and look at their baby and then look at you
Right.
and be like, it's like they still call me their hero. Like I'm their
Oh, really?
saint. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
imagine the amount of
phenomenal.
gratitude those parents have
Yeah.
for a surrogate. It's
Right.
pretty
Right.
astounding.
Yeah, that's
That's
gotta
why.
that's gotta be pretty.
Let's talk about it.
You actually
Yeah,
get a
you're
little
good.
Just
teary-eyed
remember,
here, for
just
sure.
remembering it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's emotional.
But you just hear from them from time to time, right? They just give
Yeah.
you updates from time to time on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So
I mean, I could ask for more. Like if I were to text her right now, like,
Sure,
can I
of
have a
course.
picture? Like today, she would do it.
Right,
They
of
would both do
course.
it. Right.
right. Or okay, yeah.
Well, I got a question. If it's in the contract and they decide not to send you a picture, then what?
Well, then they said no, and you have to respect it, right?
I guess so.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go to the lawyer because they didn't send me a picture, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's the tricky part about picking good parents or a good couple or person or whoever
Yeah.
it is. You have to feel good about it. You have to trust them. They have to trust you.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. I mean, there's a million assholes in the world, and there's a million assholes trying to have kids.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, so it's like inevitably there's someone out there who's probably gotten into, a contract with someone and it didn't go as well as what you experienced.
Yeah, probably all the time.
Probably a lot.
And that's scary.
Yeah, I bet a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So who was in the room during the delivery?
First one, of course, my mom, because she
Right.
always has to be there, right?
Right.
And the parents, well,
Who gets to,
when
that's
I was
all in the
birthing,
contract?
right? I mean, yeah.
It's in the contract. Who
Everything's
can
in
be
the
in
contract.
I get that everything's in the contract, but I mean, geez.
Yeah, yeah. And you can say who if you don't want them there. You can,
Right.
but I didn't care. And the dad, he was super respectful, stayed to the side, respected my privacy.
Mm-hmm.
area.
Was that in the contract?
No.
Okay, then everything's not in the contract.
But he wanted to, he's like, I'm just going to respect your privacy and stand
But
over
you
here in
wouldn't
the
have cared.
corner. No, I wouldn't have cared.
Right.
Like at that moment, and you're doing that, you don't care
Yeah,
who's
of
in the
course.
room, right? Eric, I can't remember if Nicole and Lexi were in that
I'm pretty
one.
sure they were.
Or they were close.
There were, yeah. I don't know if they were in the room.
They
I think
always
Nicole
sneak
was.
in. They always sneak in at the last
Yeah,
second,
it's
so I can't
annoying.
say,
It's
yes,
annoying.
you can be here. No, you can't.
Get out.
Totally.
Yeah.
Gavin's was like, here it is,
Yeah.
everyone. I just put on a show for everyone.
Yeah.
I didn't get to say
Right.
whatever. It's fine. I don't care.
Yeah.
At that point, you don't really care who's in it. But yeah, they were, when I was birthing, they weren't in there. But when I started delivering, they came in.
Right. Okay. Well, that's.
Does the new dad get to cut the cord?
Yeah. Is it all?
Yes.
Did he cut the cord? You don't remember?
Yes.
You think so?
We better go back to the contract and make sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if he wasn't like super psyched about it. So I can't
Right.
remember. I'd have to ask Eric on that. I think he did.
Okay.
I think if we kind of made him like, you need to cut this cord.
So you have the baby. It's a great moment for you.
Magical.
Magical moment.
There you go.
And then, I mean, it's pretty much like when you get to the point where obviously delivery's over, you know, the baby is with the with their parents. At some point, are you like, is there like an adrenaline dump where you're like, oh, I'm done. All this work, all this stuff, and of course it was worth it. The payoff is worth it. But were you depressed at all?
No.
No depression, no postpartum from it or anything like that. Was it weird all of a sudden to be not pregnant and not have, because you'd had 2 kids, not pregnant and then not have a newborn that did any part of
That
your
was
brain
different.
or your body go, what's going on?
Right. There was a point that hit me. We were in the hospital, and I think it was with the second one, but the first one, Eric mentioned something about it. He was like, it's weird that we're here and we're not
right.
taking an infant home.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah,
for sure.
that's kind of what I was getting at.
And then it hit me like, you're right.
Yeah.
This is a little strange. But then again, I was like, but we don't have to take an infant
But
home.
we
Yeah.
don't gotta. We can sleep
Is
tonight.
that awful
Yes.
of me? I was like, yeah, they're so cute, and you just want to squeeze them, but we
Yeah.
don't have to take it.
Yeah.
Not bad.
That's cool. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, so there was a moment, but it wasn't like emotional. I'm gonna have a breakdown.
Right.
That kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the baby. You leave the hospital and you decide you're going to do it again, and you decide right away you're going to do it again.
Right away.
Right away. You're just like right away.
Like that
Start the
was-
process
yeah,
again.
That was so cool. That one was easier. So I was like, I need to do this again. There's someone out there that I need to do this for again.
Okay, so you have that feeling because obviously you're still high on the
Drugs?
Yeah. Drugs, no. You're high on the
Yeah.
you know, the feeling of what you've just
Yeah,
done
totally.
for somebody. But did that wear at all? Did that wane at all? Did you, as you started the second process, and I know you got to go through all the same thing again, right? Lining up matches and all all that stuff like that. Did you start to go, I don't know? Did you ever
No, I
wane
never
from it?
doubted it,
Right.
but it's it's a long, hard
Because
process.
now you know what's involved. So knowing what's involved, you're like, oh, were you ever like, oh, I gotta start this again?
No,
No.
not at all. I was totally excited about it. I was like, I know what I'm doing now. I'm experienced.
Right, your experience.
I know what I'm doing. I know what to do and what not to do this time.
Right.
But I'm excited to find the next couple, the next family. So I'm ready to
And-
help.
How long did that take till you found the next
Yeah.
couple?
It was sooner than I thought.
Sooner than you were prepared for, probably.
Yeah, really.
So
Like I
let's,
put it out there, but it was way sooner than I thought.
let's just, I mean, we'll go into the details of it, but from delivery of the first baby to transfer of the next one, do you know how long that was? If you had to guess.
I delivered August
Right.
14th.
Hey, that's
2000.
Corbin's birthday.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that?
interesting.
Yeah.
That's his son's birthday.
2015. And then I got pregnant June. First week of June. 16.
So a little,
not even a year.
not even a year.
Wasn't even a year.
And the second time around was a little bit unique because the couple that you were a surrogate for second time around was untraditional family, was a gay couple,
Same sex. Mm-hmm.
right? Same sex.
Mhm.
That's probably the proper terminology in the contract.
Yeah.
Same sex, two men,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
so same thing, right? Your lawyer reaches out to you and says,
No.
"No, this is different."
Totally different.
Through an agency?
No.
No.
Facebook.
I was just gonna make a
What?
Facebook joke.
Isn't that crazy?
Are you serious?
What do you mean?
You didn't know that?
No, I didn't know that.
So
Or
when I
might
said I
have.
put it out there,
Right.
there is a Facebook
Group.
page.
Group. You went on a group.
Exactly. It's
And put
for
it out there.
IPs. So
What you
intended
said
parents.
IP, okay, because you said IP before, and in a previous podcast, someone bitched at me that Brody was using a court vernacular, and
Oh, really?
so IP you said
IP,
before is intended parents.
Yeah.
Intellectual property.
And there's nothing that's all on the up and up. Like,
Right.
let me ask you this: if you go on a Facebook group, let's say I want to have a kid,
Mm-hmm.
right? Me and my wife want to have a kid. I go on a surrogacy,
Or just you.
or just me, or a surrogacy Facebook group. Can this all be done outside the legal system? Meaning, can I just? I mean, I mean,
I don't know.
like, does a contract need to be in place before a doctor can implant or transfer an embryo?
I would highly suggest it.
No, I know you'd highly suggest it. I'm just wondering if there's anything that
I-
dictates that has to happen. Because I'm surprised to hear that you can get on Facebook
like
and
a
start that
like a
process.
black market deal.
I don't
Well, in a
know.
way.
Maybe no, you don't. I don't think you have to have a contract for a doctor to do it.
Well,
But that's
yeah.
dangerous
Well, I know it's
because
dangerous.
that surrogate can take that
Well,
baby.
No, exactly. I mean,
Yeah,
there's.
that's
I just
scary.
listened to a radio lab. In other countries, these women get promised to be paid X amount, but the agency takes a ton of it, and it's very. They don't. They don't see. It's very. In the
Ugly.
dark.
There's
Yeah.
lots.
It's
of
legal. It's all
yeah.
totally legal, but there's lots of sketchiness to it.
Yeah, there's lots of different things that I hear that can happen. Like
Yeah.
the surrogates take the baby,
That's crazy. I'm out of here.
and legit win it in court
Oh, yeah.
after even the contract.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah. Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Wow.
On traditional surrogacy.
or gestation.
Whoa. See, that don't seem right. Nothing about that kid is yours.
And I feel like that's why the parents need to trust you
That's
a
good
little.
point.
Yeah, because the first one, she might have been a little worried about it.
Right.
And even though you try to assure them,
You
that
think she was worried about it?
maybe
Because you're a little sketch.
totally.
And so
Right.
she's like, I don't
I'm a
really
little crazy.
trust this person.
There's always the what if.
Well, it's
and I
probably
try to
a
assure
big
them
reason.
like I don't want you.
Yeah.
Right. I don't want your
Right.
baby. I've got two monsters of my own.
I have two of my own. Why would I want another
Yeah,
one?
that's probably a big reason why it's important that you have children first, too.
right.
Because there's a
You have
flip
to be
that
done.
switches.
Yeah, be done having your children.
So that's interesting that because obviously that's something I didn't even think about that whole story you just told about the first one. It never crossed my mind once that is something that the IPs or intended parents would have to worry about because
Definitely.
it obviously does happen. Okay, so you meet a couple via a group on Facebook, two gentlemen that want to have a baby, and why do they select you?
I'm not really sure.
Is it just a conversation that started?
So I had posted something like a comment or an answer to a question because there's always questions on that thing. Like people are curious about certain aspects of their surrogacy or whatever. So I think I'd answered a question on, someone's, so I just commented on someone's post. And I think that they found me that way.
And they just started
And so they
talking to you?
yeah, they're like, I see on here that you just, you recently went through this. Are you going to do it again? Like, where are you at with this?
So here's what's really interesting. Because at that moment, when they see your comment and they go, I mean, unless they're different than any other human being on the planet, then they instantly have access to information about you. They can go on your Facebook page. They can look at your photos. They can see your kids. They can they can learn a lot about you right off the bat before they even say a word to you. Did you consider that at all?
I'm sure they
That
kind of
had to have
Facebook
played
stalked me a little bit.
Exactly. Well,
right?
that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah,
is
for sure.
what kind
Right,
of person
totally, I would
is
too.
this?
Yeah.
What kind of comments do they make? I mean, you get all
Right.
the questions answered. You could get a lot of the
Well,
questions answered right there.
I guess if yours is like super private, which mine is, so I think they can only see so much.
True.
Right? So
Right.
they had a lot of questions.
Were these guys local?
No, they're in San Francisco.
Right. So
Naturally.
did that give you any hesitation?
No, because I felt like with the second one, I wanted to do it
Out of state?
out of state.
Any particular reason?
You just want to give those Mormons babies?
No, they have enough.
They
No,
have enough babies.
no, just a different experience. And I kind of wanted to do it for a different kind of couple
Right.
too, just to have that experience because
Sure.
I wasn't sure if it was gonna be my last time, so I just wanted it to be different.
Yeah.
So you start the process. Lawyers get involved.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a lot of the same stuff, right? Because you're going through the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
So give the breakdown of how donated embryo. Did they decide whose sperm was going to be? Was it just was it a mix?
No,
I don't mean that to be crude, but I've
and
heard
this
of
is
that
why
before.
I'll tell you. His one of their sisters donated the egg,
Oh,
so the other ones.
so genetically,
Right, the other male's sperm
that's weird.
and his sister's egg.
Right.
That's how they did it. So they wanted both sides of the family. They wanted it to be pure family.
Why would this sister was not interested in being the surrogate?
I don't know.
That's where my brain would go first. If
She-
she's going to give an egg, why not just be the surrogate? But I mean, there's a big. Why.
She hadn't been pregnant before,
Oh, okay.
so you have to have had a
Right.
pregnancy to be a
And
surrogate.
that's the law.
Yes,
Is you have to have,
I believe so.
right.
I don't know. I didn't look up the law.
We'll just say it is. It makes sense that it would be
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So I think that the reason that makes sense to me is because you hear people all the time talking about before kids and after kids, and there's like a major switch that happens in your brain when you have a kid, right?
For sure.
And I think it's probably really important for somebody who is going to be a surrogate to understand what that means to be a parent.
And medically,
And medically,
if you can get pregnant
exactly.
once, you most
Right.
likely can get pregnant again.
Yeah, because there's a lot of people that have problems with pregnancies and whatnot. So
Right.
So you start the whole process and all that. Did they come here first, or did you go there first? Because I know that you went out there a few times.
I did. So I had to be tested by their clinic who did the transfer.
Mm-hmm.
So their OB or the reproductive doctor, he had me in his office and did tests.
How often did
In-house.
you have to go out there?
I just went out there one time for that.
Oh,
And then I started the IVF process. And then I went back to do the transfer.
but you delivered here.
Mm-hmm.
Did they come here?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously they came here when
Yes.
you had the baby, but did they come here in between to?
Yep, a few times.
In contrast to the first couple versus the second couple, did you feel like you got to know these guys better? Was it about the same? Was it
I know them better.
you know them better?
Mm-hmm.
So, did you felt like they were more open to just becoming
Totally.
closer to you than the first?
I'm much
parents?
closer to them.
And so, boy or girl?
Boy.
And did they keep you as updated or more updated?
Totally. They probably text me every day for 6 straight months.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
They're awesome. And then, 6 months on, probably a few times a week. You know what I mean? And
Right.
now it's like, a few times a month.
Right.
Just because,
Right.
Life happens.
Right, exactly. And they're awesome.
Was there any complications in the second pregnancy? Because you alluded that it wasn't quite as smooth the second time around.
No complications. Well, except for I lost the one. So I
Right.
got pregnant. They put 2 embryos in, both took. And then at 6 weeks, I lost one of them. That was probably the only complication up until the birthing, which wasn't a complication for the baby. It was more complications in my epidural not working
Right.
and delivering naturally. That's a complication for me.
Yeah.
Right.
That's a big complication.
So let me just be clear. So just in case anyone listening is confused, is they put two in you with the intent for you to have twins.
They put two. The main reason for putting two is they want to end up with at least one.
Yeah.
But it's very possible you'll have
very
two.
possible with all the hormones and everything you're on that they both take and you have two. So you have to be ready for that.
Ready for that. And you were ready for that.
In the contract.
Right.
That you're willing to put two in. And I was super nervous. I mean, after seeing Lexi's pregnancy.
Yeah.
Super nervous to carry twins.
Yeah.
But I was okay with it. Because I just wanted to, give them.
So you carried both for 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So for 6 weeks, you're like, I'm going to have twins.
Holy shit. I'm having twins.
Right.
Right.
Second time you decide to do this. Everyone's still on board? Any more resistance from anyone? Everyone's like, oh, Cammie's having another baby.
She's doing this again. Right. Yeah. No. Mm-mm.
Right. So interesting. Okay. So 6 weeks you carry, and then one of them, you only carried the one to full term.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was just complications during the delivery with your epidural. Sounds like it wasn't.
Right. Nothing to do with the baby.
Right. Nothing to do with the baby. Just you had a rough experience that time around.
Totally normal pregnancy and delivery, except I was feeling everything.
Right.
And you have the parents in the room, and I'm trying not to lose it. Right.
So you're trying not to lose it. Why?
Because of the pain.
No. I know the pain, but why not just lose it?
To freak them out.
You don't want to freak them out.
No, I don't want to freak them out. They're two men.
Right.
And they've they told me they watched plenty of birthing videos, and you could tell that they were a little scared.
Right.
I mean, they might not have been, but they were a little like.
Were they watching the baby be born?
Yeah. I mean, they were standing to the side and kind of at my head, but yeah, they were there and watching.
Whew.
Yeah.
So.
Phew, indeed.
So you were trying not to freak out because they were in the room.
Mm-hmm. And they could tell. I think they could tell. I had my eyes closed. Tears running down my face.
Everyone knew something was.
Eric knew something was up. My mom knew it was up, that it wasn't working.
Weren't you saying this isn't working? I feel all this.
Yeah. So not during the worst part of it, but they knew kind of I wasn't getting numb all the way.
Right.
I could feel, and of course, my OB was a new OB for me. I didn't have the one I had before with all my other pregnancies. And she didn't realize, I mean, I told her, but she didn't realize how fast the babies come.
Right.
And she was gonzo. I told her not to leave. She left. So I was pretty much like, this thing needs to come out now. I don't care who delivers it. If the nurse has to deliver it, it's coming out now, or you get this doctor. So I was freaking out about that too. So I was holding it in until the doctor came. She finally came, and I pushed and got it out, but it was the worst experience of my life.
Yeah, because you didn't even have that issue with your own kids.
I don't know how people sign up for that.
Like natural.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah. Well, a bunch of
that was crazy.
Soft people running around these days,
No kidding.
It's not like the old days.
Yeah, I guess. Well, at least I got to experience that. So.
Yeah. So did that detour from that moment the second time around? The fact that you were in a lot more pain?
Deter me from doing it again?
No. The moment of when you see the look on their faces as their baby's being born. Was it as powerful the first time or the second time as it was the first time?
I think more.
Was more?
Because they were, I mean, it's not a traditional like a couple.
Right.
And they were so eager and so ready, and just their reaction was priceless. Like, it was, I don't even know how to explain it. I can't even put it into words. Their reaction, like their face. And it was almost like giddy and just
joy.
So much joy that it was just like coming out in like almost the weirdest ways.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Do you think the fact that you knew them better made some of that difference?
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Right.
For me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made it that much better.
So
experience.
this is a question that is maybe a little tougher, not tougher to answer, but you might not, I don't know. You may not want to sell it down the river. Did you notice a difference in Eric first to second surrogacy?
No.
Same.
He was pretty consistent.
Pretty consistent through both.
Yeah, except for the second one of my hormones.
Right.
He's like, you're a cuckoo show. We're not doing this again.
Right.
And I was like, I hear you.
Right.
I can't, like, we're done with this.
But I mean, I think that's a very sweet way of glossing over the terror of a pregnant woman at times. So, like, legitimately, come on, tell me. There's got to be times when, whether he said it or not, or whether you said it or not, or whether he thought it or you thought it, where you're going off the rails because you're going crazy, and he's going, this is not worth it.
He said to me a couple times, I am calling them and having them deal with you.
Right.
Like, this is one
Like
for the
I'm
parent.
out.
Like
I'm out.
Yeah, the second time
Because
he's like, I gotta.
Yeah, I don't mean to make like fun of it, but
No,
like there's
totally.
legitimately this. I'm just like I said, trying to put my
normal pregnancies.
Sure, but that's your kid, right? That's you did that essentially to oversimplify it, you know. But obviously you guys make the decision together to do it because it does, you know. Obviously it's not just you going through it, even though that's the bulk of the load is on you. But you know, obviously your husband and to some degree your kids too are dealing with that. So it's a big ask, I think.
It is.
For the whole family.
It is.
And for you, something you wanted to do, something that you did, and then that feeling you got the first time, you know, I'm sure that Eric felt great about it too, but I can almost guarantee you it wasn't the same kind of feeling.
Oh, no, for sure not.
That you had.
Not the same kind of feeling.
Yeah.
But he did get joy out of it as well.
I'm sure. No, I'm sure
the
there's
whole
no question
experience.
out of it. Yeah.
But he totally had to be there for me all the time. And it was huge to ask him for that.
Right.
And he did awesome with it. Even
Right.
though there was times he wanted to strangle me.
Yeah.
And if he's here, if he was here, he'd probably, you know, he'd say the same thing, but he might give you a little more.
He probably would
I
give
think
us
maybe
like-
we need to get him.
I think he deals a different.
I almost
a
asked
little
you, do you want Eric to come and sit on this?
Yeah, that's actually wasn't maybe not a bad idea actually to
Yeah.
kind of get that perspective on it, but
That's one of the questions that come up, like, how did your husband deal with this? Or, I don't think my husband will let me do this. How do I ask him?
right.
There's a lot of Facebook questions that go on.
And so you're still involved in groups and stuff like that?
I'm not really involved.
I mean,
right. I see stuff pop
you
up
might
and
respond and answer
you
a
respond
question.
like, you know, it's all about experience. Like, what was your experience? And it's always different for everyone. Or how did you deal with this? This is happening to me. How did you deal with this? Did it happen to anyone else?
So I get the ultra, I can never pronounce that word, so I'm not even going to say it, but I get the overwhelming need to being your purpose and stuff like that. But on another level, were you worried ever about what this, obviously we talked a little bit about, you know, you potentially there's health issues and complications that could happen, but
Right.
just overall, I know that you said during the second one, we're not going to do this again. You both agree that you're not going to do this again.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever before that have a plan on how many times you'd want to do it?
No.
So when you did the first one, did you ever think, or before you did the first one, did you ever think you might want to do it again?
There was always a possibility.
There's always a possibility.
But I didn't know what the experience, like, I didn't know what it was going to happen.
Were you ever worried about what it could do to you? And I'm going to be like just real blatant here, just on your physical body point of view. Were you ever worried about what it was
Totally.
going to do to your physical body after the fact?
Definitely.
And I don't mean complications. I just mean, you know, I mean a lot of people.
Eric's main concern was like, you could die.
Right.
And you could. You're putting your life
Right.
at risk for doing this.
Right.
Which seems a little crazy.
Yeah.
And that's when the whole life insurance and everything comes in. And then another aspect is it's rough on your body.
Right. But even from a superficial cosmetic point of view, the stretch marks and things like that, you know what I'm saying? The things that, I mean, a lot of women
Right.
have children and their body is never the same again.
No, but I had two.
So you
pretty much anything that was going to happen happened with the two.
So you had an idea of how well
Right.
you could.
And I was so stretched out from before
Right.
my gastric bypass.
Right.
That, I mean,
That it wasn't.
what's another pregnancy?
Right.
Right.
But I mean, how heavy was Mac when he was born?
7.4.
And Gavin?
7.4.
So how heavy were these two babies? Do you remember?
First one was like an 8, over 8.
Right.
Like 8.1 or something. And then the third one was around 7.
So that's the thing. Like, if one of them would have been like I was, almost a 10-pound baby.
Thanks.
Right? I mean, did you ever think about that? Because there's no real control over that.
No.
Like how big that baby's going to be and how much weight you're going to put on. So even though you had babies before they were 7 pounds,
different genetics, so it could be totally different.
Could legitimately could have been an 11-pound baby, because that happens all the time.
Right.
But you weren't worried about that?
No, I didn't really think about that until the end.
Think about that.
Yeah. Just coming out.
You're lucky that second one wasn't an 11-pound baby, since that epidural wasn't working.
I know. Thank goodness.
Ouch.
Yeah, for sure.
That doesn't even explain it at all.
Yeah.
Not at all.
That was rough. You can do anything if you've gone through that.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
But yeah, and that's after you just get the mommy makeover, right?
I guess.
Yeah.
So that's.
Oh, well, there you go.
So
there's your
so
segue.
you got the segue to the mommy makeover.
Yeah.
So I'll just be real blatant. Did you use some of the money for that?
Yeah, I saved some of the money for it because I knew I was.
But you
I was
didn't
gonna have to do it.
You didn't do it right away.
No, I had to wait at least 6 months. At least.
Just medically speaking.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but you
For
waited
plastic
way longer
surgery.
than that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I delivered in February and I didn't have it till January, so about a year.
So I just thought of another question that backs up a little bit, because they say that I mean, I know they say this, but I'm sure it's not like if it's not. They say that, a mother's milk is extremely important. Did you, at least you didn't, there was no.
My milk never came in with my first 2. So I just said, no, I'm not nursing.
But that is something that sometimes.
It's in the contract.
It's in the contract, but maybe not nursing, but pumping and all that stuff for the first few weeks, or it's all. So that was just off the table with you.
Right.
Right.
So
okay.
the first parents, they actually had milk shipped to them. There's like a milk bank.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they had it shipped to them, and I'm not sure. I think the second couple did too for the first few weeks or months.
Right. Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
So you get done and whatever. Did it have do you feel like it had? I mean, because everybody always said that you have kids fairly easily. That it's easy on your body.
Mac and Kevin were
right.
pretty easy.
They were easy for you to have. So you had the mommy makeover, right? Was that? Because I'm curious, was that just something that you did because of having 2 additional children and the toll it took on your body?
No, I mean, I've always wanted it.
Right.
Right. Even after my 2, but I wasn't going to have it until I was done having babies.
Done having babies.
Right.
So you've had 4 babies.
I know.
That's a lot of kids.
That's a lot.
But you only got to pay for 2. And the other 2 paid you. So
That's right. Hey, you did it the right way.
Sounds
Whatever
like a good deal.
anyone says, you had 4 babies. You only have to take care of 2.
Yeah.
And like Eric said, the other 2 paid you.
Yeah.
So that sounds like a
That's fair, right?
pretty sweet deal. Pretty sweet deal. Eric, did you have any other questions for
No,
Cammie?
I think we went through all my questions I had.
So, Cammie, thanks for coming and talking about this.
Thanks for having me.
I don't think there's a lot of stuff I didn't know.
No, I learned a lot. Transfer, sticky,
all that
vessel,
stuff.
car,
Yeah, vehicle.
Yeah.
vehicle.
Well, and I think it gives, some insight if not that there's a million people listening to our podcast at any point, but someday you never know. If somebody is considering being a surrogate, what kind of advice would you give them?
Get it in the contract.
Yeah, everything get it. Yeah. There's so many outlets for surrogacies now, or surrogates now. There's so much information online, but the groups on Facebook or wherever, they really help with all the questions and support while you're going through it.
Right.
There's so much that goes into it, and everyone's experience is different. So,
But if someone out there is listening and they're like, I think I want to be a surrogate, I think I want to do that for something, is there one thing that you would say to them, like, make sure this, before you make the decision,
Right.
make sure
Make sure you're doing it for the right reason.
Right.
don't just do it to try to make a quick buck, because it's not a quick buck.
I was going to ask you. So if someone's out there going, I want to do it for the money.
No.
You would say that for the money, it may not be worth it.
No.
Okay, well, I think we can just
There you have it.
I think we can just end there. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Cammie.
Thanks for coming in.
Yep.
All right.
You're welcome.